Alright guys, Ukraine did it again. One more A-50 Russian AWACS airplane was kaputted by probably Ukrainian forces or air defense. This time it is A-50U modification. We're gonna speak about it later. Now let's watch the video from the actual shutdown because there were some of the eyewitnesses who filmed everything. I put the sound off because I think that it's not very important for you to hear the drunk Russians on the background. Some of the airplane was flying in the night skies, flaring flares. Those are used to attract the missiles, which use the thermal guidance. As you see, it throws them quite a lot. The guy filming was also smoking, that's why we have this blurry footage. And we have the kaboom. One more time on this small screen, just look at this side, boom. The missile hit one of those flares. And let's see what happens next to the airplane. It was flying and kaboom. This time it was a bullseye, hit directly to A-50 modification of the Russian AWACS. It was flying down, I think it was separated into several parts. You can see debris flying on the right and a little on the left. Everything is so spectacular. The good firework for the Russian celebration, because they do celebrate the Russian Defender Day because it was the day of the Soviet army before in USSR time. So clearly this airplane was shot down with two of the missiles. One of the missiles was trapped and the other one hit the target. This is what happened on the ground right after the airplane hit it. There was some of the comments of the local Russian woman. She says that it was a helicopter, but you know, what's the difference for her between helicopter and the airplane? After all, it is A-50. Later on I'm gonna show you the debris. And this big fire is absolutely no helicopter can do. Sorry, I have to block the watermark. So here, a man already says that it was the airplane. One more directly from the place. A guy has a very bad camera job, but he was told to leave the place and he said that he is the journalist lying to the Russian officials, so he was able to film something. He also said that there were some of the bodies lying in those puddles. There was the information from the local Russian authorities that two of the airplanes were shot down, but it's not yet been confirmed. I guess that it's the single airplane which was separated into two big parts. And here we have the evidence that it is indeed the A-50 airplane. It was A-50 airplane, so this is the top part of the empennage, the horizontal stabilizer. A-50 is based on Illusion 76, so for sure this kind of the airplane was shot down. Also, local eyewitness says that there is the shrapnel which hit the aft part of the airplane. You can clearly see it over here. So this part was found by local and here it was hit but from the other side. I have absolutely no doubts that it is Illusion 76 or A-50 modification of this particular airplane, and Russia already recognized that they lost this particular aircraft type. This is one more image of the horizontal stabilizer probably, because I can see Uzel, it's the link for the connection of the elevator. Rule высоты means elevator. So the part of the stabilizer was also separated, saying that the airplane was hit from the tail part, according to the shrapnel and according to this damage. The tragedy for the Russian aviation happened in the Russian airspace, Krasnodarsky Oblast. A plane was performing those kind of the maneuvers and just started its operation from the local military base. The distance from the edge of the front lines till the place where the airplane was shot down is 221 kilometers, which is quite a lot for the Patriot system. The maximum range of it is 160 kilometers, so 100 miles. That is why the Russian media and the Russian military bloggers say that they shot down this airplane themselves, pointing out the Mariupol air defense that it launched the missile to this direction. Well, because of this long range, I think that this version has the right to exist. Also, the airplane was flying at the low altitude and the missiles were stopped. One of the missiles was stopped with the help of the flash thermal trap for the missiles. Patriot missiles do not have this thermal guidance. They operate in different way. That's why for a long time I also thought that it could be the Russian air defense. Some of the drunk Russian striker who wanted to shut down at least something during the celebration of 23rd of February. Indeed, they have a great party today, celebrating with fireworks in Moscow. I think it's the proper time to send there some of the drones. They would never notice. This time during this celebration they shouldn't call Ura, but Ura 50. Alright, let's go back to the versions. Ukrainian side says that A-50 was shot down by Ukrainian air defense. Not the Patriot one, but S-200, an old-school Soviet-made system. The S-200 looks like that. It was made in 1960s in the Soviet Union, and as for me, it is the best looking missile that was made for the air defense because of those extra acceleration engines. Here the maximum range of missile is 300 kilometers and the active radar range is up to 450 kilometers, which fits exactly for today's picture. I read some of the speculations that those were Ukrainian F-16s, which Ukraine secretly obtained, but no. We don't have F-16s, that is why Ukraine has to improvise, and we still have those S-200 air defense missiles, which also were modernized to ground-to-ground missiles, and they already were used to hit the Russian infrastructure, military one. It is even said in this article that Ukraine used those to attack even Crimean Bridge, but unsuccessfully with that one. However, with Bryansk and some of the parts of the Russian Federation, it was successful. And we have the notice already that Ukraine used S-200 to shut down Beriev A-50, the Russian AWACS airplane. Quite a fast update, I would say. Plus, this missile has a thermal semi-active radar homing. So thermal, you see, that is why it was trapped, one of the missiles. Alright, and about particular modification of A-50, it was A-50U, updated variant of the A-50M, of the modernized version, with modern electronics and increased crew comfort. Yeah, obviously now they're very comfortable. But the best version of A-50, A-50EI, went to India for export. So this is the plane, it has more modern engines, pretty much good for the fuel efficiency and also the capability of the airplane. The old engines are not that good for Ilyushin 76. Obviously, crew spotted that some of the missiles were flying towards them. That's why they performed some sort of the avoidance maneuver with steep descent coming out of the missile, flaring flares, but it didn't help. The modern Russian technology was kaputted with a very old rocket, or missile it's better to say. The operating crew consists of 15 personnel members. The flight crew is based in a cockpit. Obviously, the operating crew stays in the fuselage. From what I saw, the strike was somewhere to this place. And we also have the updated information that this airplane was shut down. I would like to obtain the information about the registration mark of the airplane to check the particular unit, but if we speak about the A-50U modification, it means that it is the best modification in the Russian army, which might cost around $500 million United States dollars. So for a little bit more than 1 month, Russia lost the second airplane of this unique type. How many of those left in service in the Russian army? Probably around 2, maybe maximum 3. Here I speak about capable airplanes, not the scrap metal. And you see that Russia continued to use those unique airplanes even after the first loss. So they really need those tools to check the skies over Ukraine. Now probably they'll think one more time whether they really need to fly that close to Ukraine. This loss is very heavy for the Russian Federation. By the way, 2 days ago Putin presented the icon, the saint icon, to protect the Russian Air Force especially. As you can see, it doesn't help. Probably they need to modify this Russian air defense system. Maybe some of the new faces in their icons could help. By the time I'm recording this video, there was also the information that Russia lost one more Sukhoi 34 airplane, also with the help of the S-200 air defense system. But we do not have the official information from the Ukrainian side or from the Russian side. Those are just rumors for now. Alright, let's go to other news. It's been 2 years since Russia started the full-scale attack on Ukraine on 24th of February 2022. I'll never forget the day, the explosions, and how we were forced to leave our place with my daughter, with my wife. Thankfully, we were safe, but other Ukrainians, they lost their homes, they lost their lives, unfortunately. I also lost relatives and friends during this war. And all of that is because of the Russian aggression. Sadly, after 2 years, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I do expect that this war might continue for a very long time. 2 years is just a beginning, unfortunately. None of the sides is able to reach the strategic military goals in Ukraine. Simply not enough resources. Potentially Russia has many more resources and now actually has compared to Ukraine. And the tendency for the support of Ukraine, well, I don't like it right now. It is much less compared to what it was in 2022 and 2023. It seems like Global West is not willing to give everything possible for Ukraine to win. At the same time, Putin is still popular in the Russian Federation, plus he has the military support from his allies. That's why this war will continue, sadly. First of all, because of Putin, he is not willing to stop. Their goal is to occupy all of the Ukraine if possible, well, at least till Kiev and Odessa including. The big tragedy is happening right in the middle of Europe, but it seems like many people and politicians, first of all, do not care any longer. Yeah, a little pessimistic, but what can I say, those are my thoughts. Let's check out the military map update. Well, we have the confirmation that Ukraine attacked towards Pobeda that was occupied by Russian forces. They even put their flag over there, but forced to retreat a little. Ukraine sent some of the reinforcements and was successful. All of this is happening near to Marinka. The heavy fight is ongoing near to Avdiivka. Russians want to expand the area that they were able to gain. They continue to use aviation bombs even after the losses of their airplanes in the region, at the same time losing lots of the ground forces. But Ukraine is now strong in defense. However, we have the confirmation that Ukraine lost two of the tanks near to Stepova. Here's the first video of the Abrams tank in action. They were moved towards Avdiivka too. This tank was also operating near to Stepova, and no, it wasn't lost in this case. It was successful over there in coordination with surveillance drone, and later on it left the position. Russians tried to attack Bilohorivka but were absolutely ambushed. We have the video about it, by the way. So here's the Russian convoy near to Bilohorivka, some of the tanks, some of the armored vehicles. All of them were captured by Ukrainian defenders. The wrong place and the wrong time for the Russian soldiers. From what I saw in this video, they lost at least 7 of the vehicles. My friends, I am unable to publish some of the combat videos on this platform. That's why I have my Telegram channel. There I share more information about what is happening in Ukraine and the situation on the front lines. According to analytics, there were 10 of the Russian attack vehicles. The critical situation for our guys in Ivanivske, it's very close to Bakhmut. Enemy sends everything out there. Somehow still Ukrainian forces are able to defend this settlement. Russia tried to advance in Crimea direction towards Yampolivka, and this is what happened. They also lost their vehicles out there. They do not care, they continuously use the mid waves with infantry, with tanks, with everything. Our guys on the front line say that they have the impression that they are fighting against the Chinese army. That is how many Russians were put on attacks. The Russians are going and going. Ukraine continued to operate with JLS-DB shells. This time the Russian base was the target and 2 of the shells was enough to eliminate it completely. Russians were also ambushed near to Novomikhailivka. If Ukraine, for example, had those tremendous losses, the front lines would just collapse. But for Russia, it's okay. The United States of America and the European Union introduced new sanctions against Russia. Are those effective? Well, at some point, yes, but in general, no. Russia is still able to get the way out to sell their oil and gas with some of the schemes, but West purchases the Russian oil from India or from other third countries, but it is the Russian oil. Money goes to Russia, and the last budget for 2023 gained more than $300 billion from the oil sales. It is much better than in 2022. Also, the Western-made components are found in every Russian weaponry. Some of the weaponry is sold to Russia via the third countries, for example from the United States or from Japan, as Nikkei Asia says. The parts for the Russian tanks are going from Japan and Taiwan via China to Russia. So all of the exports should be blocked for Russia because they use it for the military. We have the first video of the Ukrainian pilot training in Denmark, February 2024. Some of the Ukrainian pilot even gave the interview in English. There's also the training of technical personnel in the local military base. So hopefully soon we're gonna obtain those F-16 fighter jets, but as officials say, not earlier than the summertime. The interesting article from Le Figaro, they say that some of the vehicles that were supplied to Ukrainian army were damaged by mice on the front lines. The housing of the electrical wires were eaten by mice because they were made from some of the material which is close to natural. So mice were able to disable some of the vehicles on the front lines. President Zelensky decided to make the interview with the Fox News 5 kilometers away from the front lines. It is so-called response for the Putin's interview to the Tucker Carlson. Generally, I think that there is the same audience for Tucker Carlson and the Fox News. So Zelensky was able to deliver some of the messages. Yesterday, President Biden met with Navalny family, with his wife, a widow already, and a daughter. I'm very skeptical about Navalny's movement without Navalny himself. I'm almost sure that they are not able to bring any changes for Russia. As I said to you before, the era of the peace protests in Russia is over with Navalny's death. It is no longer a tool to change something in Russia. And this Russian opposition is just not able to start a revolution in Russia, like hardcore revolution. Good news, Ukrainian volunteers collected the funds for 35 drone boats, those are Sea Baby, that were already used to target the Russian ships, and also the Kerch Bridge, so we'll see many more interesting stuff happening in the Black Sea. My friends, don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And also you may check some of the links in the video description just below if you want to support my channel. You may support me on Patreon or on the sponsorship of this YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your kind support. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.